This is Bill Newman, WHMP.
Welcome to NPR, Northampton Poetry Radio, with erstwhile Poet Laureate Rich Michelson. Rich, the microphone is yours.
The dulcet tones.
Okay, we're going to try it. It's NPR.
Well, here, this is interesting.
Never do that again.
we figured this out while we were in the waiting room here. My very first Northampton Poetry Radio show was with James Heflin. Welcome back, James.
Thank you.
You inaugurated this program, actually. I spoke to Bill, and I said, what about a poetry segment? And he said, sure, come out tomorrow.
It's not that we had time or that we were, people were just bursting down the doors to get in.
And you were walking past the door at the time. And you had also just won a Massachusetts Cultural Council grant,
yes.
Big money, which allowed you to take the next 6 years off and concentrate on writing this book. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
And now you're back. It's amazing.
And you are back with a brand new book. Is this your first full-length collection?
This is, yes.
Called Krakatoa Picnic. And tonight. Tonight. At 7 p.m. at the Brew Practitioners, 36 Main Street in Florence. You will be having your inaugural reading. Again, that's tonight, 7 p.m. at the Brew Practitioners. You'll be reading from Krakatoa Picnic. And this is, how cool is this? On Wednesday, May 3rd, at the Forbes Library, there is a discussion of work poetry by James Heflin. So that is at 7. Will you be there?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to, okay. But
I'd point out when they're doing your retrospectives and you're not there, it's kind of on the glide path out.
That's right, yeah.
So, but people are invited at 7 o'clock. This is I think a weekly or monthly thing, a poetry group that meets at Forbes, and that they discuss somebody's poems. So first of all, congratulations. The book looks beautiful, as we would expect. It is a Hedgerow Books publication, one of our great local presses. Mm-hmm. And how did this come about? Was it a competition, or?
Yes, it is a competition that they have regularly from poets from this part of the state, and they took 2 books. The time I did it, Hannah Free's book "Little Terrarium" and this one, and I believe they're continuing that as an annual thing.
Yeah, it's a great series. They've the books that they've done have won numerous awards. The book is great. I know you a little bit. For the audience might not know that James, for many, many years, was the arts editor at the Valley Advocate,
yes.
As well as working for most of the publications around. You were really the voice of arts in this area.
Thanks.
You covered literature, you covered painting. I mean, really, we miss that voice. But I'm really pleased that we have your personal voice now. And I want to make sure we get in some reading. So let's start with a poem, and then we can talk about your work a little bit.
Sure. Okay. I'll read one called "Glass Onion." One day, I unzipped a zipper behind my ear. There was a lot of smoke, some shouting, and a horn going off. It's like that light bulb in Livermore that's been on night and day since 1901, glowing for all it's worth. I visit the bulb cam now and then, and I wait. This guy had brain surgery while playing his banjo. His hands shook on Foggy Mountain Breakdown, so they said, play, and moved stuff around. And it was suddenly Miss Otis Regrets, then Glass Onion, and nobody knew why. And the brain doc, I bet, couldn't resist, wondering what would happen if he left a twist tie there inside the banjoist's skull. I tinker like that. I'm full of regret.
That was James Heflin. You're listening to NPR, Northampton Poetry Radio, with Rich Michelson on the Bill Newman Show. James will be reading tonight at Brood Practitioners, 7 p.m. Change your plans. Get there, folks. That's 36 Main Street in Florence. And
Can I interrupt for a second, James? Yep. Could you explain the title of the book?
It's a Beatles song.
The The title of Krakatoa Picnic, it comes
the book,
from...
not the poem.
Yeah, I don't think Krakatoa Picnic...
No, I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
It's a bad band name, maybe.
Yeah. The name Krakatoa comes from the volcano that exploded actually April 27th, yesterday, 1883, in the Pacific, and caused a worldwide sort of cataclysm with, ash in the sky for years. And in the title poem of this book, I talk about something being like picnicking on Krakatoa, which I imagine would be a particularly bad thing if you happen to do it April 27th, 1883.
Hi, let's take a nice family picnic out to the mountain tomorrow. And, oh, my goodness, the world is coming to an end.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But is that kind of the theme? Is that
in a lot of ways, I think it is, yes. Sort of, apocalypse, but, sort of a friendly sort of apocalypse, I suppose, as they
go.
The
book is full of whimsy, and just the language itself, Krakatoa Picnic, it just works beautifully. But this is a book that's really full of, it is funny, it's outright funny, it's full of imagination. We get a sense of you as a person, but it's not a personal book in the way that it's not, we're not really hearing about James's life, neuroses, in a general way we
right.
are.
Yeah.
But is this something you strive to do? I mean, you put yourself in there, but it's not confessional.
True. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about that kind of confessional poetry that I just frankly find a little less interesting. I like thinking of these things as sort of small worlds of their own, worlds that work on their own strange terms. So that does give it a distance. But yes, those things leak out. But I guess maybe I'm more comfortable talking about those things in a more pulled back way. That's a matter of invention and imagination, rather than a poem about walking up to the store with the dog or whatever.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dog, Molly, we walk to the store. That's how it starts. But
but it has deep inner meaning, as we used to write next to the poems in high school. DIM, deep inner meaning.
What struck me reading this is really you were one of the subjects in the Leonard Nimoy photography shoot that we did at the gallery, Secret Selves.
Yes,
and I remember that distinctly. You actually were in the final book. You made the cut, the scope of that Secret Selves, where we asked people to come. Zeus, people originally had 2 heads, 4 arms, 4 legs. We got too powerful. Zeus cut us in half, and we spend our lives looking for our other halves. It's why we're full of angst and distraught all the time. And people came to unburden themselves in front of the camera, show their other selves. And you came in the guise of a mad scientist, as I recall.
This is true.
Yes. And you really just went on a riff that almost sounded like one of these poems to me.
I thought about that.
Where you were discovering things and talking about things. And it really was a unique voice, I thought. And I remember when you left, Leonard mentioning, oh, this is a voice of a poet.
Wow.
So it really comes through in this. Do we have time for another poem?
Sure.
Okay. I'll read A Little Hut. It is true that in Argentina several orbs descended and arranged themselves in a big number 7 above the pampas. It is true that the clouds pillowed around a waning moon. I have heard that onlookers whistled in appreciation, that, driving away, they kicked up a wall of dust that no longer felt gravity's iron. I have heard that below the orbs, the earth turned dark, and that those who walked there had dreams that smelled of turpentine. I believe it to be true that water from a nearby well became blue and sweet, and balled up at the slightest provocation, floated away toward strands of cloud. Years ceased to pass in that spot, they say. If one stopped at the little hut there and did not leave, the heart chambers would go on wobbling until the mountains wore down to nubs. But that I do not believe.
James Heflin, reading from Krakatoa Picnic. He will be reading as well tonight, April 28th at 7 p.m. at the Brew Practitioners in Florence, just down the road from us here in Northampton. And you can come and discuss his poems on May 3rd at Forbes Library for the Poetry Discussion Group at 7 p.m. This is a beautiful book. Congratulations.
Thank
it's
you.
just, I had so much fun reading through it. You play with language. Just who are your mentors, very quickly?
Well, that's a hard thing to pin down. But at UMass, I studied with James Tate and Dara Wire, and those are certainly people whose influence.
You see those influences, a little Wallace Stevens, maybe?
Definitely Wallace Stevens, Russell Edson.
But you probably took a class with James Tate, and you probably didn't take a class with Wallace Stevens.
I did not take a class. That would have been good, but no luck there.
Who is your insurance agent, by the way? Thank you, James, for joining us today.
Thank you.
At NPR, Northampton Poetry Radio, The Bill Newman Show.
You know the place where nothing is real.
This is Bill Newman, WHMP.